we're going to go ahead and get started here for our next session, talking about cybersecurity and why it's important, how to prevent a cyber attack. We got Rich and Mickey here to help us navigate these waters, and we're excited about this next section here at the Fabricators stage. Thank you.
Thanks, Blake. And don't go too far. I'm going to call you in as a witness. Yes. All right, thanks again for being here. Mickey and I are going to spend the next half hour talking about a couple of things. One is just a general update on what's going on in the industry as far as technology goes, whether it's new software, new hardware. Just as Ed had mentioned in the last conversation, we are ramping up, right? As an industry, we've been behind other similar industries, and it feels like we're trying to catch up now.
And the progress has been amazing. You know, there is a lot of technology out there now, both in machinery, software, everything involved. And the really cool thing is we're all looking at those opportunities to kind of integrate, right? And bring the best of all worlds together.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a really exciting time.
Everything's got to be open and accessible.
Yep.
Let's see if I can get my pointer to work. Let's see. Speaking of technology, there we go. All right, you guys have seen us before, but a brief introduction. My name is Rich Katzmann. I run the Rockheads Group. Our booth is right over here. We are a group of like-minded fabricators across the country that are interested in sharing best practices, participating in benchmarking, just essentially networking. I love it. You join the Rockheads and you wake up the next morning and you have 117 best friends. So it's just a great way to navigate all of the different things we're talking about up here, whether it's M&A activities or benchmarking or implementing new technologies and new products. A group like the Rockheads really brings people together to make it a little bit easier. I'm going to give an example later in this talk where we had one of our shops get hit with ransomware early in the morning, and essentially because of the Rockheads Group was able to get away without having to pay anything and be able to recoup his data. So I got a quick little case study. Blake's might be a little different than that. That's one extreme, right, Blake? And then we've got out west. So that's my role. Mick, why don't you spend a little bit of time?
Sure. So I was a fabricator for 20 years, had my own small fab shop, and then worked with a large fabricator with multiple locations and multiple business lines. So I had a chance to see, to polish that black absolute on my own, and then look at how processes are scalable, or what processes it takes to be scalable. Prior to my background in the fabrication world, though, I was in banking and analytics and worked a lot with our software teams then as well. So I'm in software now. I work with StoneApp, member of StoneApp team. So so we get to be on the forefront of a lot of this technology, which we really like.
Spend a minute or two on StoneApp.
Oh, sure.
What do you guys? Again, we're talking about new technologies.
Yeah.
So talk about what your product does, and kind of maybe that'd be a nice lead-in. What new things maybe it does that it didn't do 4 or 5 years ago, and then we can just kind of snowball from there.
Yeah, for sure. So StoneApp is a software company. It's one of the leading software companies. We've been out since 2015. It actually hit the market in 2016, and I joined the team in 2021. I had used some of the other software in the business and was always looking for kind of the best tools. When I had a chance, when I saw StoneApp, you could see the fundamentals were there even back in 2016, 2017. But since that time, it's really become very, very dependable software, very cutting edge in terms of newer functionality. For instance, dealer portal. It has a dealer portal, right, where the dealers can actually do the quotes, submit them to you, and see their schedule, right? That's just one of a dozen things that has been launched over the last just couple years within StoneApp. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Sure. So essentially StoneApp, right, similar to Moreware, but, more, I would scheduling, CRM, go through the what it does.
Well, I loved my BlackBerry,
back
in the day, and I'm old enough to have had that BlackBerry. But the technology on the phones have come so far, right? A little computer now that you can carry with you and do so many great things. It's the exact same in software. So make sure you're always looking out and around for what's out there now, because the technology goes so fast in that business line that and we know we have a lot to offer, but yeah.
Okay,
Definitely
Mickey's
stay
shy.
looking. Yeah.
I think they have to advance for me. Perfect. So our agenda, as we mentioned, right, we're just looking at new technology across. It's not working. And then we're going to talk a little bit about cyber. So if we could just slide up one more. It's a nice catch-all slide. So Mick, why don't you share, and I'll help out where I can.
Sure.
Just some of your experience in some of these different topics, right?
Right.
And we can kind of do them in order if you want, or however you want to do it.
Yeah, so ERP systems allows you to really, in one system, touch all the major components of your business. In StoneApp, we have 4 pillars, we call it, right? We have the CRM and quoting, we've got the project management and scheduling, we've got the purchasing and inventory, and we've got accounting, right? And we chose to have the accounting be a separate software. And for those of you that were involved with a different software that had an attack last year, you kind of felt pain because that accounting system was all incorporated, right? Well, we've made that choice to have the QuickBooks, essentially. We have a really nice integration there, and many of us, not just StoneApp, but many software have chosen to take that route to give you that extra layer of insulation, where you're not losing all of your financial side at the same time you're losing your operational system in case of a cyber attack, right? So that's one way. Also, cloud-based systems, it's great because your team can all work at the same time as long as there's internet, and there's pretty much internet throughout the USA these days, right? It's hard to find a place without that access. So, it gives a really inexpensive, really price, benefits to the price side of it, as well as the ability for your entire team to be able to use it all at once. So if you have to add a repair to that install crew that day, you can easily do that, and on that same app, they'll be able to see exactly all the details, pictures, everything they need in order to execute that. They don't have to come back to the office and figure out what's going on, right?
Okay.
So those cloud-based systems do
Are
those
your
things.
in your software? Is the install crew connected to the software?
Yes.
Are they bringing a tablet in with them, or are they using their phone?
Either.
Okay.
Either, yeah.
Okay.
So, and the software is designed to keep that portion very simple, right? So they can upload files, they can see their schedule, they can see the route, they could see the drawings that were created during the estimation process. They could see all the selections. They could see this material slab size for the templater if they're trying to make seam locations, right? So all of those things are in one spot. And when they take their photos or they upload their DXF file or indicate that they couldn't accomplish something for your team to be able to see right away, all of that capability is there in a very simple way. Yeah.
So full connectivity, templater, installer, everybody's working from the same software.
Correct. Yeah.
Interesting. Now,
Even like the material handlers, right? That's such an important part of the job, right? So in the systems, you can see as a material handler what specific materials need to be cut by a certain date, right? So they can note and move those materials to that A-frame or rack by the saw, so that you can keep your saw running at full capacity, right? And they don't have to go ask or go in the office. They have that right there.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then again, one of the main purposes of an ERP system is to integrate with other systems, right? So that you can't do everything. So sales companies like Granite Gault, for example, or Quote Countertops, for example, right? You guys will talk to them, and Speed Label back on the other side, you guys will talk to them, right? So your system is basically built for everyone else to plug into. There's
a couple of trains of thoughts in the business, and it's definitely something to ask when you're entertaining a software for your business. Is this a group that likes to have everything restricted, essentially, and kept in-house to their own? Or is it a group that is looking to network and integrate with as many great other technologies as possible? We come from the latter, there are groups out there that come from the former and still operate that way today. So definitely ask those questions.
Okay.
For sure.
All right. What else, Mick? What about AI? What are you seeing AI used for?
Hey, boy, it's really powerful tool, right? I mean, we're just touching it. I think in your analytics, it's going to be a powerful tool. In the communications, right? In your daily email construction or automatic responses, right? I mean, even if you can push that into your phone systems and how they answer. There's all kinds of functionality that's going to be occurring there, and I'm just like the rest of us. I'm just scratching the surface on how cool that technology is. But
We've seen a lot of our shops implement review responses using AI, right? Where they actually trust AI. If someone posts something saying, "Hey, your product stinks," the guy's left a mess, that they're actually trusting AI to respond to that without a human having to go in and type that.
yeah, it's really interesting, right? It can review the calls or emails for that matter, and then tell you some of the more common words, right? And link those together so that you can start to see if communication is a challenge, right? And they're just left in a mystery and they don't know, and so that's the biggest pain point for them, which is often the case, right? So, but listening and having those kind of tools observe is really pretty neat.
So mine, I'm going to share a scary story, scary but not scary. Marketing data, right? So we work with a couple of world-class marketing agencies within the Rockheads, and one of them has access to the data out there that tracks you wherever you go, right? So it knows where your phone is, it knows that you went to Home Depot, it knows that you went to the dry cleaners, picked up the kids, but it now knows everywhere and everything you do. It's not just Alexa listening, right? It's your phone. And so we have Rockhead members now that have implemented marketing tactics that say, if this customer type, right, you can declare median income, homeowner, goes into one of my competitors, I want an email, I want to push this to them. And so it is getting really scary out there in a good way, right? But you can really leverage some of the things that other industries have used and can really, I mean, think about that, right? As soon as you go into a stone shop, you're getting an email from another stone shop or a text, an ad, whatever, a Facebook ad, saying, "Hey, don't forget about me over here." So I thought that was really cool. Mick, what else? What else? You know, we've got, Iris has the slab scanner over here. We've had 4 or 5 Rockhead members implement it, and they love it.
The Horus D2?
The Horus D2. I have not heard any negative feedback on that product at all.
Yeah, we have a number of customers. We're integrated with Slabsmith. That was the first one out, right? That was and great at the time. But this is a smaller footprint. I'm not a commercial for Horus D2, but we have a number of customers that use that as well, or have recently moved to that.
Yep.
We happen to have full integration with them because again, we're looking for that technology integration. But yeah, they're really hitting the market well.
Yep.
Yeah.
From a machinery perspective, if you're in the market for a CNC, I would look at Poseidon equipment. They have a new system, a new piece of equipment where you never have to flip the slab, right? So you're cutting and routing without touching the slab. They call it their hybrid mode. So that's kind of a new innovative thing. We've got a handful of guys that are doing that. Less chance of breakage, error. Obviously, it's faster. So, I mean, that's another kind of exciting thing.
Well, yeah, and depending on your size and scale, parts tracking as well. So, we happen to have a full parts tracking. If you have 100 pieces of white quartz going through your shop at any given time, it's hard to keep track of which one is which and see exactly are all the parts of that project done so I can get it all together ready to load. So you have that visibility, which machine and which individual part is on which machine or at which workstation, right? So labels, whether it's speed label or internal labels, either way, we collaborate with them as well. I would still send you to their labels and ink, by the way, because we're not specialists there. But you could either use our label or their labels, and we're integrated. So.
Sure. And one of the kind of mini commercials we did at the last discussion was if you haven't joined an association, if you're not an NSI member or an ISFA member, seriously consider it. It's not a big expense. And all of this type of stuff is discussed there. You can talk to other members that have implemented it. It essentially gives you a much better network in deciding on new technologies.
For sure.
And they introduce new technologies and talk about them too.
Yeah, and oftentimes, like, even we want you to go either to the shop or at least have good constructive meetings with shops that have incorporated whatever equipment. I mean, because it's a big investment, right?
Yeah.
We want you to know what you're getting if you're getting Stone App, because it just makes it better for everybody involved, and you can ask the right questions. So we will get you in touch with shops that are using it, and of course through Rockheads and other associations, you'll have other members as well. So
Yep. All right, let's switch gears here a little bit and talk cyber. So if we could advance one. We've got a lot of slides here. We'll make these all available to you afterwards, so it's just too much to read. I'm just going to hit some highlights, right? But the big takeaway from this first one is, well, 1.1 billion in revenue in ransoms paid is a pretty big number. That number is just skyrocketing, right? All the world conflicts with China and Russia, we are just getting bombarded with cyber attacks. 74%, this is the scary part, is human error. So you could have the best firewalls and the best redundant systems and doing everything right, and one of your employees accidentally clicks on an attachment, and now they're in. So the big takeaway from here is employee training. That's really what's going to eliminate a vast majority of what we're seeing out there. That's kind of the big one on this, if you want to push it forward for me. Not going to get into too much with this, but the concept with this slide, and we talked about it briefly a second ago, they're attacking smaller businesses. They want to get into you, and then they use you to get into Depot or to get into a supplier. The idea is, the smaller businesses are a little bit less, I would say savvy, but have less technology to stop them.
Yeah, less resources.
So they get in through you, and then they just weasel their way up to the big guys. If you look at the large breaches over the last 10, 15 years, the vast majority of them have been from a smaller company getting into the bigger company. So that's essentially what this slide says. If you want to advance for me, please. I'm going to roll through these real quickly. The big one that everyone is seeing or hearing about is ransomware, right? They come in, you get into the office at 6:30 in the morning, you turn on the computer, and it says, I have all of your data. You have 24 hours to pay me $100,000. We've had 4 companies within the Rockheads get hit this year, and it's scary stuff. And it's legitimate. Now, there's a list out there of, you can, if it happens to you, you can immediately check if they are a real ransomware company or a fake one, because the FBI tracks all of that, right? You don't want to give $100,000 to someone who doesn't really have your data. But there are lists out there that will tell you, this is real. And this is what people are waking up to every day. And that's where most of the time their own employees are letting that bad actor in, and now they're attacking. So it's going to lead to immediate backups, right? Because if all they have is your data, we're not worried about social security numbers being leaked like Target is, right? Or like Home Depot is. We're worried about our data, right? So Mickey can talk about what you do with your data or what you do as a business when you wake up and you have no computers, right? Whether it's a file cabinet that has blank POs in it, right? Or whatever you need at a minimum, and to make sure that you can still operate.
And I think we have some notes on that last slide
okay,
for this,
okay,
right? Yeah.
all right, so we'll get to there. Please, I have it now, nice. So ransomware is the one we've had. So Mickey had mentioned a company in our industry that did get attacked by ransomware. They did pay the ransom, and yet they did keep a lot of the data, right? So you're dealing with bad people. So even if you do everything they say, you're still putting yourself at risk. So the only answer is just to keep them out. Blake, can you just share a little bit? This is, I don't want to put Blake on the spot, but this is a horror story of what ransomware can do to your business.
Yeah, so this is really important. Our company experienced basically, we lost 9 months worth of data roughly, just gone. Completely, and that's all of our accounting data, that's all of our inventory data, that's all of our, every single, hundreds of thousands of transactions. I have roughly about 130 employees. We do countertops, wet enclosures, cabinets, glass, and all those interactions were gone and had to be completely rebuilt. And that is devastating. We're still, here 10 months after the fact, recovering and trying to piece that back together.
Wow.
I mean, and just, can you imagine walking in and not even knowing who to follow up call, who your customers are, all your contact information is just gone, and we got through it, and it's just a huge impact on our 2022 numbers. So
wow.
yeah, sure.
Wow. Yeah, worst case scenario there. Still not working.
Oh, here.
Yes. Yeah, are we at last 5 minutes already? Okay, thank you.
Okay, maybe hit that last slide.
Yep, we're gonna, whoops.
There we go.
Okay, go for it, Mick.
Okay, so how do you prepare? I mean, there's really, to Rich's point, the training your people what a phishing email looks like is a big part of this, right? And I'm sure if you can, do we have IT help that we can reach out to?
Yes,
through
at the Rockheads.
And-
Yes, we
okay.
absolutely do.
Okay, cool. So that would be a great place to start, right? Make sure you have good IT help. They probably have some emails that they could introduce as training exercises that your team wouldn't know about. That would be a great way to help open those doors for conversation, right? And train them.
Well, the big thing they do is they try to lure them in.
Right.
Right, so that you get the training, you get here's what you don't do, but then periodically, every 3 weeks, not on a rigid schedule, they'll then barrage your employees to try to bait them in to learn.
Yeah.
Right, not to get anybody in trouble. So that's the best way that you're going to learn is to them being tricked in again.
So now let's say that it actually happened, right? And Blake, you can add anything here that I'm missing, but we were thinking, okay, you've got to have visibility to your schedule. So imagine you walk in the door and you don't know which installs you have going on that day or which templates or tomorrow, and you've got to gather all that together. So you want some way to have that backup. And you can have backup routines. Most of us in the software business these days are providing you with access to your business that you can save off nightly or whatever routine you want to put into place, that you have that data when you walk in, just in case. So a lot of us have that as an option. But you'll want your schedule, template install, production, and including those project level details, right? Which materials, what edges, sinks, all that. Inventory. So there, depending on your size and scale, you can have a ton of inventory out there, and oftentimes it's very important to know what that valuation is, or even which one of those are reserved to which project. So imagine that. You're going to want to have control of that as well. The accounting piece, your open invoices especially, right? Maybe which bills you owe. You might need that. Your invoicing, what you need to be invoicing, all of that. So keep that in mind as well. So one of the things you can do is, just like you might have our shop in Florida, we had a hurricane preparation plan, right? So create a cyber breach plan. That's where you can start. Think about how you can have these items on that plan. Have a documented plan and review this with your team. And ideally, you have, say, a 30-minute outage or something that's not too detrimental to the business, but you walk in and you see all the terror on your employees' faces. That's really what you're looking for. So it drives home the importance of keeping these items. So I won't cover any more on the slide. You can take a photo. You're going to have the slides available.
All righty. Yep. So that's really it for our discussion. We would like to open it up to questions. We've got some time left over if there are any.
Yeah, any questions for Rich and Mickey? So question is,
so if you were hit by like a ransom attack or any kind of cyber attack, how would you therefore start a plan if you've never encountered it? Like, what is the first step?
It's a great question.
I'm going to look to Blake first because you probably have one now.
So really, to repeat the question, what is the first step to starting a plan, to going down that path for a company? And you want me to answer it?
I mean, I can jump in, but I figured you might have already walked through that.
So I think the first step is at least in our organization, was assigning somebody to be accountable for it. You know, just like anything else, if you don't have somebody accountable for it, we actually took an employee and made them responsible for our cybersecurity. You know, and even though we use third parties to help administer, we're not the experts in that. This is actually I think it was an intern that we used, and what they did is they started sending fake phishing emails to our staff, started really testing our system, and working with our external IT person to really start increasing the awareness, and then having a formal written plan. That was our next step.
So to create that plan, perhaps what you could start with is start at the front of your shop, sales or what have you, and have them turn off their computers, right? And say, now what do you do, right? And so the person responsible will work through their visibility, or do you pull out a form if a potential customer walks in the door? How do you handle that transaction, right? And so through that exercise, you'll start to identify how you can handle that without access to your system, And just take it department by department. I would start in the beginning because that one is going to impact then the next one in line. So if that form then can convert over to a folder or whatever to the scheduler or what have you, right? Yeah.
Great. Any other questions for Rich and Mickey before we move on? Well, thank you again. Let's give them a round of applause.